Ysera. I fell to my knees with another blow to the head from Athaliah. Blinded by my bodily fluids and earth, I could hardly make out the frame of Azrael, who stood at the far end of the farm. "Get up," Athaliah urged, dragging me by the hair. "Second lesson, do not stay down for too long. Every second is valuable, and the more you stay down, the more dominion your enemy has over you." She dragged me up and cut me short with another heavy blow to my stomach. My body erupts in pain, and I feel my internal organs struggle to keep up. Athaliah continued to drill her fist into my guts, and I tried and failed to prevent myself from it. It became evident that I didn't have enough skills to defend myself. All my life I craved power and went after everything that could grant me dominion over my enemies. I was already at a disadvantage, born as a witch without powers. I tried all I could to get myself armed and ready to attack before they attacked me. However, I never thought there would come a time when defense would be much more valuable and life-preserving. I was learning the hard way. I suddenly didn't feel Athaliah's blows raining on me. Everything just ceased. Tip 3. Never give up in the face of adversity. No matter how weak and disadvantaged you think you might be, you must never stop seeking ways to turn a fight around. I saw her standing above me with a winning smile. Her voice got closer as she squatted beside me. "You look like a mess. What have you learnt from all your years training to fend off wicked witches from your clan?" I spat out blood. "Don't ask useless questions. Stick to your job description." Athaliah let out a chuckle. It sounded like claws on a chalkboard. That was either my hate talking or my ears had been affected too. "I thought to give your weak ass a break. I guess I better get back to it then." She stood up and I braced myself for another hit, but none came. "I'll give you a fair chance to get back at me. 3 minutes. You have a task to get me off my feet, any means necessary." I sat up on the floor, battered beyond recognition. I knew I would receive some potion that would quicken my healing. Hence, Athaliah had the liberty to go to extreme lengths in training. A few minutes into the training, I found the extreme lengths only entailed dealing with me till the point of death. I knew that training was unachievable without pain, but I didn't think I had to be beaten up so badly I struggled to remember my name. The worst part of it all was that it had to be Athaliah doing the training. Not only was my pride hurt, I was hurt by the fact that, like it or not, I was learning a thing or two from her. Again, the hard way. "Tick-tock." She tutted. "Your time is running out." She picked me up and landed a blow on my nose and leg. I fell with a thud, and I felt my ankle shift. A howl of pain left my lips, and my eyes opened wide. "You said 3 minutes!" I roared. Lesson 4 and 5. Never waste an opportunity, and never trust your enemies. She smirked. "You have a long way to go, witch," she added in a subtle tone. I could hear the hostility in her tone. Her glee was evident. With the increased pain in my ankle, I felt my anger. Anger that could only be satiated by Athaliah lying on the floor with pain. Set ablaze by my goal, I got up, gathering my strength into a powerful punch. I must have been slow. She dodged my attack without breaking a sweat, as though she anticipated it all the while. "I see you are finally catching up," she praises me, and I'm stunned by the genuineness of her words. Before I could make sense of her sudden change, a powerful spin kick was delivered to me, sending me to the floor on my shifted ankle. Horrid pain spiraled from my ankle, paralyzing my entire body with pain. My mouth opened, but there were no words. Not a sound escaped me as I mourned for the pain that tore me apart. Lesson number 6. Never be caught off guard, no matter the situation. You must never leave room to be distracted by your enemies. It only takes a second, and your life could be gone. She kicked my ankle, and searing pain devoured me. Pro tip: your enemy is not your friend. I remained on the floor, devoid of any will to go on. I realized just how weak and inexperienced I was. It hit me like a truckload of bricks. What was I thinking about agreeing to this training? It was torture, and torture in the highest form. My entire body felt out of place. We have been at this for not less than an hour, and it feels like an eternity. Rule number 2 and 3 suddenly flash into my mind. Do not stay down for too long. Never give up in the face of adversity. Turn the fight around. I prepped myself, thinking of retaliating when I heard her walk towards me and squat. "Look at you," she said. "So weak, you can't even protect yourself. How do you plan to fight against us wolves? Or better still, protect that wretched clan of yours?" My eyes flew open, and I took in her smirking face. "If you think those witches are safe just because you pledged your useless self to this pack, then again," she whispered, "the Alpha always knows how to get them unsuspecting and clueless witches like you." When the implications of her words dawned on me, I felt my blood boil like never before. The look on Athaliah's face as she said those words remained in my mind, mocking and ridiculing me for how cheaply I had fallen for their tricks. A deal with the Alpha? What possessed me to think I could trust him? Do you want to know what happened? Do you know what I did to them during my little vacation? What Zadok instructed me to do? "What have you done?" I asked slowly. My mind was ready to conjure up a spell. "What do you think I did, Ysera? It was only a matter of time before the world's freed from the curse that is witches." Everywhere suddenly became hot, very hot, too hot. A fog covered the place, and I could hardly see. However, I could sense my target, and hell would freeze if I didn't return to her a thousandfold pain as she had meted to my clan. Up on my feet, I reach out to her with a powerful blow. Athaliah blocked the blow with her hands. However, I was far from over. I turned around and delivered a threefold spin kick, getting her exactly where I wanted. "I will kill you," I muttered, staring her dead in the eye. For some reason, I could sense fear roll off her in waves. The scent of her fear added flames to the fire within me. "How would you like to die? Slow and painful, or quick and effective?" "Ysera, calm down," she said, shying away from me. "Calm down," I said in an incredulous tone. "I'm only getting started." Determined to end this, I leapt to the air, aiming at her heart. Athaliah stood, looking confused and trying to decipher where the hit would come from. I decided to play a game. I made her think I was aiming for her legs when I was aiming for her heart. I was about to deliver my hit when strong arms held me in the air. I felt a spark of tingling feeling within me. Delicious currents rushed through my body, leaving me dazed at the sheer contact of that person. "Athaliah! Get out! Now!" a voice roared. It was Azrael. Then who was holding me? Athaliah crawled out of sight, and I felt anger surge within me. She must not escape. I struggled my way out of my hostage and gunned for her. Athaliah predicted my move. She turned back and delivered a powerful hit on my head that knocked me out cold. "Tip number 7. Do not get beat up," I heard her say, and I succumbed to unconsciousness. Zadok. "She can't survive the dark forest," I muttered, gritting my teeth as I watched Athaliah beat Ysera to a pulp. "She's too weak." "Exactly why she is training," Shilhi said beside me. "She will do fine with enough training." I got frustrated. "Can't you see? It will take years before she becomes good enough to survive the dark forest. We don't have much time." "What do you propose we do?" Shilhi turned to me. "Last I checked, she is our only hope of getting into the dark forest. We don't have options." Athaliah delivers a spin kick, and Ysera is on the floor, almost lifeless. I could tell she was still alive by the faint high and low of her chest. She was breathing, thank God. For some reason, it sucked to watch her get beat up, despite knowing it was for her good. I knew she would be attended to afterwards, but it didn't go well with me. "What is she doing?" Shilhi's inquisitive tone jolted me from my thoughts. What did she say? I looked to the field and spotted Athaliah squatting over Ysera with a winning smile. If I didn't know better, I'd say Athaliah was enjoying this much more than she should be. Refusing to be bitter, I shut off my thoughts and tried to listen to what she was saying, but only caught the tail end of her words. So far, she had been brutal in teaching several lessons in their training. I knew firsthand how effective her methods were. Because Athaliah was a product of that method, when she joined my pack, I'd taken it upon myself to ensure she was strong enough to defend herself. Experience was always the best teacher. I made it a point to deal bitterly with her so that no one else would have to do it. What in the world? Shilhi froze, and we watched Ysera get up with the agility of a lion. Her eyes were suddenly furious, and from Athaliah's lack of confidence, I knew something was wrong. Azrael got closer to them, wanting to see the dramatic change of events firsthand. I watched in shock as Ysera delivered a powerful hit, nearly bringing Athaliah to her knees. Azrael's eyes went wide, shocked at the sheer amount of power her punch carried. A series of blows followed the hit and delivered with such precision that I could see Athaliah struggle to ward them off. Something was wrong. Gone was the weak and beaten to a pulp Ysera. Where did she get such strength? What triggered such anger? I was full of questions when Shilhi finally spoke. I think you need to get closer. The worry in her tone confused me. I looked at her and noticed her eyes fixed on Athaliah. With a renewed understanding, I realized she wasn't worried for Ysera. Shilhi was worried about Athaliah. Athaliah can hold her own. I tried to make sense of her needless worry. Powerful or not, Ysera is not seasoned enough to defeat. I ate my words when I saw Athaliah on the floor and Ysera with an evil glint on her face. She wanted to kill her. I could sense the intent to kill oozing from Ysera. I looked around and saw Azrael standing there with a slack jaw, unable to believe his eyes. While Athaliah struggled to dodge her hits, my legs moved on instinct. Athaliah relentlessly tried to turn the fight in her favor. No such luck, because there was no way she could win against a person possessed by God knows what. Athaliah hadn't caught on to the fact that Ysera had disappeared. What was left was a vindictive beast, aiming to end her for good. I caught on to the plan to kill Athaliah first and ran to the training ground, full of purpose. When Ysera was about to end it all, I held her tightly by the waist, and her hands seized in the air. She stilled for a few seconds as our bodies connected. A sizzling hot feeling zapped into my body from where our bodies met, and my grip slackened around her. An inexplicable warmth overwhelmed me, and I couldn't get enough of her lavender scent. She was suddenly more appealing, and my wolf stirred awake to see her. I shook my head, refusing to let Kyr interrupt our moment. While I embattled my mind, she struggled to get out of my hold, and I almost lost hold of her. "Athaliah, get up!" I roared, exerting my alpha strength to hold her down. Athaliah did not get the memo. If she did, she wouldn't attempt another hit on Ysera. Within seconds, Ysera broke free and attacked Athaliah, who had her back to us. Pow! A powerful spin kick from Athaliah went straight to her head, and Ysera lost consciousness. I watched in horror as the light went out of her eyes, and she slumped into a puddle on the floor, just a few meters away from me. Athaliah squatted in front of her, breathing heavily, and delivered a line about how she got beat up, but I didn't care. Ysera was in dire need of attention, and nothing was forthcoming. I turned around in search of Azrael, who immediately noticed my gaze, and brought out a little bottle from his pockets. He hurries to an unconscious Ysera and feeds it to her, while we watch with ceased breath. After 3 grueling seconds, the potion took effect, and she stirred in her sleep. Her breathing pattern changed. I knew she would be fine. Peace clouded her features as the seconds trickled by. "Take her to the pack doctor," I said, but Shilhi cut me off. "No, Alpha." She said, "I need to check something about her. I will take care of her." My tone changed. "She is unconscious." "She wouldn't let me if she was conscious." Shilhi looked at her form. "I won't be long. She already took the potion, so she's out of danger." Everyone looked at me, expecting a reply, but I gave none, which gave them the go-ahead to take Ysera to the greenhouse. "The rise of the phoenix," Shilhi said, catching my attention. "What do you mean?" "When she is at her weakest, anger stimulates her strength," she explained. "Congratulations, Alpha. We just found out something about your chosen one." She smirked. "Something she isn't quite aware of and could be used during your journey to the forest." "Ysera, Ysera," a voice called in a ghostly tone. "There is no more time." I looked around the dark forest without fear. "Sarai, where are you?" "At the heart of the forest. Let's meet at the heart of the forest." The voice returned to me. I nod and turn eastward toward the forest. I stare longingly at the mountain. "I'll be there. Just hold on." I called back and started my sprint towards the mountain. "Wait." The voice called back, Sarai's voice. I come to a halt. "Take the book. Don't come without the book. You need the book." Confusion clouded my features. "What book? I don't have any book." "The ancient witch's book. Get it. You'll need it. You'll need your powers." At the mention of my powers, I felt a dark aura surround me. It immediately dawned on me the implications of her words. I still didn't have my powers. I was still weak. Get the witch's book and get to the heart of the forest, Ysera. I'll be waiting. My eyes flew open, and my heart rate increased. It took a while for me to realize it was just another dream. It's been a while since I had one of those. I sat up, and my eyes adjusted to my surroundings. When I saw I wasn't in my quarters, I got up and stumbled onto a stool by the side, holding a burnt-out candle. Where am I? I thought with concern. How did I get here? I slowly found my way out of what seemed to be a storage space I was kept and moved towards a small hallway that led to God knows where. The room was brighter, and I adjusted my eyes accordingly. Books, bottles, leaves. I was in the greenhouse. Soon enough, I noticed I was alone. Immediately, the threshold of memories broke, and I remembered everything. The fight with Athaliah, the betrayal from Zadok, a sharp pain in my head, and the book. The freaking book. I walked with purpose, going through everything in the greenhouse. The last time I was here, the book was placed on the table, waiting for me to read. It was only a matter of time before the people who left me here returned to check on me. My eyes went through the shelf, reading the book titles of every arranged set in each row. I hear some shifting in the bushes, and I hold my breath. I couldn't get caught sifting through the items. I spot a stool close to an open window, and naturally find my way to it. I sat down like a thief, and after some seconds, I looked out the window. The bushes move again, but this time, I see a squirrel run out of the bushes and slip into another. A sigh escapes me, and I get back on my feet, determined to finish what I started. I get up from my seat and nearly trip on something on the floor. I hold the walls to help myself and look at the darned thing that stood in my way. My breath seized as I took in its blue cover and intricate markings. The Ancient Witch's Book. I looked around before picking it up and dusting it with my clothes. I took one last look at it and calculated my odds of taking the book out without getting caught. The darned bushes moved again, and the book fell off my hand. I roll my eyes at the squirrel that hopped out of its hole and picked up the book. I looked between the book and the rabbit hole, and an idea hit me. I couldn't get the book to my quarters, but I could hide it in a hole. I could keep it somewhere it could be accessible to me, and when I was finally ready to embark on my journey, I would know where to find it. Immediately, I got outside the greenhouse. A vast farmland came into view, and I saw a shovel placed by the bark of a white oak tree. I held the book to my chest as I made my way to the tree, looking behind me at every opportunity. I finally got to the tree and took up the shovel. My heart rate increased as I thought of the best place to bury it. I couldn't leave it close to the greenhouse. It was a recipe for failure. However, I didn't know how much time I had before someone discovered I was missing. While I contemplated my options, Sarai's voice flooded my consciousness. Meet me at the heart of the forest. Suddenly, it felt like I'd struck gold. The heart of the forest, the heart of the farmland. I couldn't forget that if I tried. Careful so I don't get followed, I hurried towards the heart of the farmland, dragging my book and shovel along. I got to a point and looked up. A white oak tree stood before me. Without a second thought, I walked towards it and dig a pocket hole, big enough to size the book. I marked the spot on the tree and returned the same way I came, praying no one saw me. I get to the greenhouse, and before I can open the door, Zadok stands before me with a disgruntled face. "Where did you go?" He barked, and I felt my anger erupt at his rudeness. "I went for a walk," I said in a tone equally as rude. I made to walk past him, and he held my hand, hindering me from moving. "Let me go," I gritted, eyes ablaze. "I warned you," he breathed. "I will not stand for such disrespect." "You promised," I growled, getting out of his hold. "You told me my people were safe, and what did you do? You sent Athaliah to get rid of them." Zadok took me by the hand. His eyes searched my features. He said with a rasped voice that, "It's not my fault you chose to believe lies, Ysera. I wasn't having it. Athaliah told me." "Quiet," he barked, cutting me off. "I have not gone back on my word, but if you choose to believe whatever you heard, that is on you. He let go of me. You will go in there and get a proper rest. From tomorrow your training will become more intense." My mouth opened, but no words came out. He opened the greenhouse and walked in, leaving the door open behind him. I followed him after some seconds, and he suddenly turned back, and Athaliah will be in charge till further notice. Ysera. I hadn't set my eyes on Zadok since the last time at the greenhouse. Despite his sudden disappearance, he stayed true to his words. My training with Athaliah continued. Every day I returned to my quarters with an aching body. One thing was sure, I was getting better. With my constant training, I got better at defending myself, alongside learning valuable skills to add to my offense game. I couldn't lie. Athalia was one hell of a teacher. She wasn't my friend, and every lesson felt like an opportunity to show me how much of a weakling I was, compared to her. I took it with good faith, expounding my knowledge of her tactics and getting stronger. As time passed, her hits weren't as defeating. In my current state, I felt I could take on a warrior wolf. As time passed, I discovered that Elle anticipated training every day, so much that I spent my nights sparring alone in my quarters in the dead of the night. This week was different. My training was canceled without reason, pending further notice. Despite my ban from nearing the farmland or exiting my quarters, I heard whispers about the reason behind the sudden change of things around the pack. A mating ceremony was holding very soon. According to the news, Zadok hadn't attended one in the last 12 years, and every other pack was desperate to come into the Bloodhound pack to rectify the news flying around town. I didn't hear what the news flying around town entailed before I got caught listening in on their conversation. I didn't care anyway. I just hated that I had to miss training because of it. Despite the ban on my training, I managed to get through the days with a pocket of training exercises within the premises. It wasn't the same with training on the farm with Athalia, but I had no choice. Today, however, I planned to visit the farmland. Not because I wanted to be a rebel, but because I needed to get the book. It's been some week with heavy downpours. I couldn't afford for the book to be lost, or worse, revealed. In the dead of the night, I prepared myself, dressing in a black dress and a black cape to go. With the excited chatters and the festivities I could hear from my room, I knew that this was the night. The mating ceremony night. The best night to carry out my act. While they were all busy bumping heads with what they believed to be their significant others, I would sneak out to the farm and get my book. Easy peasy. Armed with the knowledge of the ceremony's venue, I sprayed myself with one of the wolf scents I stole during one of my walks, hoping to hide my original scent when the time arrived. I snuck out of my room, avoiding eye contact and walking quickly, hoping the wolf populace were caught up in their ritual, giving me enough time to carry out my rendezvous. Everything went seamlessly. Nobody spared me a second look, and the air was festive. I noticed the lack of guards in the corridors and the overall leisure in the air. No one was paying attention. At least that's what I thought. "Reject me," I heard a voice as I passed the last room of the hallway. "No, you are my mate, Athalia. You belong to me." The voice sounded broken and oddly familiar. "Why would you want me to reject you when I've been waiting for you my whole life?" That caught my attention. I felt caught between two decisions, to continue my way like I didn't hear anything or quietly find out what was wrong. Don't say that to me," she said, sounding tired. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I can't accept you as my mate. You know I've only ever wanted to be Luna." I finally peeped through the doors, and my eyes fell on Azriel and Athalia, screaming their heads off. They were mates. I'd think by now they would be consummating their bond, but for some reason here they are, screaming their heads off and plotting to be a Luna. What was a Luna? Azriel looked crazed. "No, you are my mate, Athalia. The moon goddess has given you to me to love, to protect, and to cherish. I can prove to you I am worthy of your love. I will make you feel like a Luna. You will be my Luna." He let out a frustrated sound. "Please don't do this. Don't break the bond we share." He held her hand, pleading like a baby. "Resolve, I will always make you happy. I am for you. I'll give everything to have you by my side." He kissed her wrist. "Don't you feel that? I can't live without you anymore. From the moment I scented you as my mate, I don't want anything else." "You just don't seem to understand, do you?" Athalia removed her hand from his. "This is a distraction on my path. I have trained myself all these years, preparing for when I can finally be Luna. How can I throw all of that and settle to be your mate?" Athalia's words were a slap to Azriel. I could feel his heart break as she spoke to him. "Let's not hurt ourselves any more than we have. I want you to reject me." Azriel blew up. "You want to be the Luna?" he scoffed. "Don't fool yourself. The Alpha is currently working on finding his mate. What makes you think he will choose you instead? We both know he won't find his mate. The whole thing with Ysera will eventually crash, and he'll come running back to me." She boasted. "As it stands, you are the only thing standing in my way to becoming Luna." Azriel turned around, fisting his hair like a crazed person. "Can you hear yourself? You are willing to give up your original mate to be someone's second choice?" he asked in an incredulous tone. "I will not stand here and listen to your insults." Athaliah raised her hand, and Azriel's eyes widened. "I, Athaliah Hezron Gamma of the Bloodhound Pack, reject you, Azriel Montreal, as my mate." "Who do we have here?" A voice startled me. I jumped from the door, creating a noise. Shilhi looked at me and then the open door. Before I could muster an excuse, she said, "Let's get out of here." I followed her without a word, and just when we crossed the main gates, I heard a painful howl come from the building. I didn't need to ask to know who it was. Azriel, Zadok. My jaws tightened as I saw Alpha Cole of the Blood Moon Pack walking towards me with his flavor of the night. It was one of the reasons I despise social gatherings. I put on a fake smile and met them halfway. "Alpha Zadok, it's been a long time since I've seen you. I thought you would miss this year's ceremony, too." His words were a double-edged sword. It's hard to miss when I am the host. I've been quite busy these years. I didn't realize I was causing an uproar by my absence. "Nonsense, we are all busy, Zadok. We all have packs even bigger to run, yet you don't see us shying away from the public's eye." He gestured around the hall, as though aiming to drive a point. "One will think you are hiding something, especially with your status as an unmated alpha wolf. Don't you want to find your mate, or perhaps choose one from the strong females that attend the ceremony this year?" "Don't blame me if people find it hard to mind the business that pays them," I force a chuckle. "I am not obliged to attend the mating ceremony if I have something more crucial to attend. My pack comes first." Cole tutted. 12 years is a long time, my friend." He raised an eyebrow. "Or is there something you are hiding?" I went straight to the point, done playing games. "Is there something you heard, Cole?" He laughed. "You dropped the honorifics. I must have struck a chord. Perhaps I am not far from the truth." He pondered aloud. "You did it first. I don't know or care to know what the hell you are talking about." My tone was demeaning. "However, I wish you a good night." My eyes flickered to his flavor for the night. "I hope you put the ladies off their misery tonight and chose a darned mate, Alpha," he said in a low tone but loud enough that I heard it. I feel my blood boil at his sentence, but I refuse to let it get the best of me. "I hope you find your mate too, Cole." I fired, then tutted, "Oh yeah, you already did. Let's hope the moon goddess blesses you with another." Before I could finish my sentence, Cole was pressed against me with his fists on my collars. "How dare you speak of her with that cursed mouth of yours?" he threatened, breathing fire. Cole lost his mate a few years back because of his negligence. That was word on the street, and I didn't know how true it was. However, I did know he was one crazy alpha wolf. With his reaction to my words, I figured the rumors weren't far from the truth. I pulled his feeble fingers off my shirt and straightened up. A crowd of people stood, watching to see the battle unfold, but I had no plans to get down and dirty with him, no matter how badly he asked for it. "Nothing to see here," I said, all eyes averted. "If you'll excuse me, I need a drink," I said to a fuming Cole and walked away. 2 steps away from Cole, I got hit with a distress call. "Alpha! Alpha!" I hear the panicked voice of one of my patrol guards. "Rogues, we are under attack!" I stop in my stride and command via mind link. "Calm down. Where are you, and where is Azriel?" I asked, preparing to deal with any rogue that thought it best to defy me at such a critical time. "The farm. I can't reach the beta. They are everywhere." My jaws tightened at the implications of his words. I maintained my cool and left the hall without a second thought. "Azriel, where the hell are you?" I reached out to Azriel via mind link as soon as I got out. No response. I tried reaching him again as I made my way to the farm. Everywhere seemed calm, but one thing that stood out to me was the lack of patrol guards in their designated places. Athaliah and Azriel were supposed to deal with this, but for some reason, none of them were answering my calls. I was one step away from killing them, but I had to secure my pack. If they weren't aware, my pack was vulnerable. I didn't like the sound of that. With renewed strength, I returned to the farm, taking off articles of my clothing as I neared the place. On getting to the farm, I give my wolf 50% control. My claws elongated, and so did my fangs. My eyes turned red as I switched to my wolf's eyes, which allowed me to see much farther than my humanoid eyes allowed. I get inside the farm, and I'm shocked to see it empty. When I thought the worst, I saw a form in the middle of the farm, digging relentlessly. With a snarl, I headed towards the rogue who dared to remain and steal from me. In a second, I got to the spot, and just when I wanted to end their miserable life, I was startled by the red hair that greeted me. Noticing my presence, the thief turned around, bearing a deer in headlights look. It took a moment before I identified who it was. My face scrunched in suspicion. "What are you doing here?" I asked, holding her by the elbow. Ysera tried to get out of my hold to no avail. "Let me go," she hissed and pulled out of my hold. I was startled by her newfound strength. Just when I made to hold her the second time, I heard the bushes move and saw some rogues hidden in the bushes. Ysera sensed my distraction and followed my eyes to the rogues that hid in the bushes. She wasn't bothered or surprised at their presence, which brought the conclusion that she knew they were there. She must have known they were here with her all along. They laid ambush here, on the farm, one of the most secured places in my pack, the one place Ysera knew too well. I snarled at her betrayal, and she nearly tripped on her feet. "You!" I cursed, brimming with anger. Before I could finish my sentence, chaos broke, and the rogues leapt out of their hiding. I let Kyr take over, and the battle began. Ysera. I watched in horror as Zadok took on the wolves that suddenly poured out of the bushes. He leapt to the air and midway transformed into a gigantic wolf that scared the wolves to a still. Within seconds, the air filled with bone-cracking sounds as the wolves transformed into their beast one after the other. What in the world? My back found the oak tree behind me as I watched the confrontation between the wolves and Zadok's wolf. It was clear which wolf belonged to Zadok, because it was the largest and most commanding, not to talk of its demon-red eyes that struck a chord inside me. It's just training. I remembered the words of Shilhi and swallowed hard. If this was indeed the test she spoke of, I had every plan of acing it. She mentioned it would be a beastly test, but I didn't take her word to mean that. Without further contemplation, I joined Zadok in the fight, throwing myself in harm's way as I dragged a knife into the bowels of a wolf. Everything stilled as the wolf let out a guttural growl that didn't move me. I was the only one in my human skin, but I could feel them talking about me. Shilhi told me how deadly it would be and gifted me a knife, saying I would need it. I knew Zadok was perverse to using anything other than my abilities to defend myself, but he seemed he didn't care. Instead, I could sense his worry. I couldn't get why he was worried because two brown wolves came at me with a vengeance. I put my head in the fight and dodged their attacks. It felt like I could tell what they wanted to do beforehand and successfully evade their harm. Zadok, on the other hand, was taking on about 5 wolves at the same time. I hadn't seen him fight so vengefully against his people. Who would believe that all these were done to assess just how prepared I am in terms of defending myself? Zadok took it to the next level, going as far as beheading a couple of wolves that came his way. Slash! I yell when I feel my arm open from the claws of a wolf behind me. I was busy with 2 small-sized wolves when another approached me from behind, successfully getting a hit on me. "Ysera, watch out!" I heard Zadok's panicked voice in my head. I didn't care to look his way. I sensed another wolf coming for me with a vengeance, and with surgical precision, I got out of the way, causing him to collide with the 2 wolves I was fighting. I leapt to a tree branch and climbed to the top. When I was stable on the tree, my eyes searched through the mayhem beneath me, and I could hardly find Zadok. As I stayed up the tree, I saw more and more wolves pouring into the farmland, each and every one coming for Zadok. To the point, I got momentarily forgotten as they all strived to kill him. Something was wrong. The tree shook, and I saw hungry wolves shaking the tree with eyes set on me. Dang it! I held fast to the tree and tried to hold on until I saw them climbing and coming for me. "Come down, Ysera, come down!" I heard Zadok's worried voice in my head. I felt stunned. How did he manage to do that? I look at him and see him fighting still. However, I could tell he was getting tired as time progressed. His eyes focused on me, and I saw his worry about me. It wasn't a test. I thought, it was an attack. Suddenly, everything made sense. There were two things I've come to know about the Bloodhound Pack. They were submissive to a fault around the Alpha, and Zadok seemed protective of them. They couldn't attack Zadok with such hatred or do him harm in any way. Neither could Zadok kill his people without a moment's thought. There and then, I knew that Zadok was indeed in danger. I jumped down with a newfound strength and continued the fight. This time around, I make ample use of my knife, slashing my way through to Zadok and leaving dead wolves in my wake. As I killed more and more of these strange wolves, I sensed they had a morbid smell and their wolves were wild. Rogues! The word hit me, and I used my knife vengefully, trying to get to Zadok. I could sense his strength weary, and for some reason, I couldn't stomach the thought of him getting killed. No one was coming, and there was no way for me to reach anyone for help. I heard a powerful growl I knew belonged to Zadok. I turned towards his direction and saw he was wounded. Blood gushed out of his stomach, and more wolves heaped on him, perpetuating their evil desires. "Get off him!" I screamed in fear, eyes focused on Zadok's black wolf. A chart of light hit the wolves, sending them permanently to the floor. That drew their attention to me, and half the wolves came for me, declaring me a threat. I don't know how it happened, but I rushed to Zadok, concerned at his blood loss. A wall made of fire formed a protective shield around us, hindering the rogues from getting close to us. "Change," I ordered, holding his stomach. "Now," I say, not caring I was talking to a wolf. For some reason, I felt he could understand me. In the next few seconds, a human Zadok appeared before me, naked and battered. "What are you doing?" he asked, his tone very weak. "We have to leave. They are everywhere." I helped him up, and the wall of fire disappeared. Immediately, they attacked us. This time, a rogue buried his teeth in one of Zadok's legs. I feel fangs deep into my shoulder, and a painful cry leaves my mouth. Immediately, a white light came from me and blasted through the farm. When I opened my eyes, to my greatest surprise, every rogue was lying on the floor. Dead. "Zadok! They are coming. We need to run." Ysera's voice was panicked, as well as concerned. I managed to get on my feet, holding the bleeding gash on my stomach. With my movement, I felt pain all over again. Why the hell was this taking so long to heal? I mumbled, gritting my teeth in pain. "At this rate, you'll die before we get help." Ysera's eyes fixed on my wound, which poured out blood. I could understand her concern, but I didn't have it in me to remind her I was an alpha, and I couldn't die from loss of blood. With my delayed healing, I was losing blood and getting weak fast. The rogues used a silver weapon. Ysera helped me to an oak tree, and I relaxed, trying to preserve my breathing. "I'll just find some herbs to stop the blood," she said and got up. "Try reaching out to the others with what you guys do in your mind." My eyes perked at her words. Before I could ask what she meant, she was gone. Grudgingly, I tried to reach the others via mind link, all to no avail. There was a mental wall that blocked our communication. No matter how hard I tried to pass through, it didn't work. I couldn't do much with my weakened state. A frown marred my face as I took in my surroundings. Thousands of rogues lay on the farm, their bodies burnt beyond recognition. Ysera, she did that to them without a blink. She did that to save my life. I owed her my life. However, I was confused. Was this another manifestation of the powers hidden inside her, or did she have them all these while? A headache hit me, and I searched for my potion but found none. It got lost fighting these darned rogues. I feel a bit better and instinctively looked down at my stomach. My blood was clotting, and it was only a matter of time before I got healed up. I observed my super healing stomach and then heard shuffling in the bushes. Someone was there. I sniffed the air and felt anger fill me over again. Those darned rogues were around, and by the terrible stench that covered the air, they weren't a few. Quietly, I sat by the tree with an elongated claw, refusing to give up without a fight. The sweet scent of lavender and spice hit me, and I remembered Ysera was still out there, and in danger. Telling by the rogues on the farm, I knew it was only a matter of time before she got head-to-head with them. I couldn't risk her getting harmed or discovered. With the loss of my potions, Kier was at the brink of my consciousness, ready to take charge at the slightest opportunity. While my human body healed, I leaned on his strength to bear the pain that my body felt. Psst! A voice hushed into my ears, and I got ready to strike. Zadok, we have to go. They are endless. This time around, I knew her voice. I could also sense the presence of another beast I knew didn't belong in my farmland. I remained quiet while Kier assessed its scent and possible strength. Despite Shilhi's statements against trusting my better half, Wolf, I let Kier do his thing and walk by his judgments. He was the only one I could trust. I looked down and saw my wounds were all healed. However, I still felt weak. Losing all that blood was the cause. My eyes came into contact with Ithra's enlarged ones, and before I could notify her of the impending danger, she dragged my arm, helped me to my feet, and took off in a sprint with me beside her. I heard a loud growl behind us, followed by the thunderous footsteps of our pursuers. Shit! Ithra swore as she picked up her pace, looking back time and time again. Where are they coming from? She gritted, holding me firmly by her shoulder. I wondered the same. How on earth did these rogues enter my lands without my knowledge? How are they still here and in such large numbers? How did they go through our tight borders unscathed? Ithra's hands tightened around me, jolting me from my thoughts. Her red hair lit up, glowing into a fiery red color. The trees around us changed from forest green to a darker green, and cold air seeped into my body. Something was wrong. I looked beside me, and with shock I realized everything was a blur. We whooshed past dark trees at an insane speed, and fear erupted within me. Everything seemed dead, even the leaves that we barely trod upon. Gone were the howls from the rogues that chased us. Gone were the sounds of their feet pursuing us. Everything was calm. Ithra slowed to a stop, panting heavily. I think we lost them, she managed to say between breaths. How is your body? I remained silent and took in the land before my eyes, a land that was not my packlands. What have you done? I stand on my own and place a gap between us. My claws and fangs elongated, and I felt some wolf hair at the lower of my back. Kier was a minute away now. Her eyes were confused. What are you talking about? I just saved your life, Alpha, she said in a sarcastic tone. I could tell she was offended. I didn't care. I took in the spooky forest that was certainly not my farmland, then asked again with a hardened tone, What have you done, Ithra? I just saved you from the rogues that wanted to kill you. I think I might have made a wrong call. She spewed. You better start calling for help before the darned rogues find us again. It's a miracle we were able to outrun them. While she spoke, I realized something that nearly took the life out of me. She didn't know what happened. She thought I was crazy. I held my head between my palms for a second before I broke it to her. We are not in the packlands. Ithra looked like I'd grown a third head. Then she looked around, and her face clouded in horror. This is a dream, she muttered. This is just another weird dream of the dark forest. Zadok, it's a dream. It will be over soon, Ithra said, tapping her face. My eyes narrowed at her, and she didn't seem surprised. She didn't seem like this was strange to her. It seemed like it was business to her. I walked to her and held her by the arm. Have you been here before? She struggled out of my hold and continued pacing. It's all a dream, Ithra. Focus. Irritated at her constant pacing and refusal to speak, I walked to her and pinched her cheeks, and she let out a screech. Do you still think it's a dream? I deadpanned. I watched as her eyes grew large, and she took in the environment again. What? How? She stuttered, looking around like she was only finding out where she was. I should be asking you that, I said, holding her again. Have you been here before? Leave me alone. She pulled her hands and put some space between us. I didn't like the sound of that, but I persisted nonetheless. We need to figure out a way out, I said, and my desperation leaked from my tone. I can't do that if you don't talk to me. I don't get it. I was in the farmland a few moments ago. How did we get here? She asked, and I felt anger brew within me. Enough with the games already. My tone was taut. Do not take me for a fool, Ithra. I need you to talk and fast. She let out a breath, and her eyes fixed on me. I have been having dreams of this place. I moved closer to her and asked softly, What have you been seeing? Visions. Dreams that urge me to come to the dark forest. My breath seized at her answer. We were in the dark forest. We finally crossed over and she knew. To do what? Come to the dark forest to do what? I pushed back, wondering how much she knew about my predicament. To protect my people. Her eyes shone as she spoke. I need to come here and repair the wall, to preserve the life of my people. My eyes widened at her reply. Did she not know about my situation? Your people are not in danger. I made sure of that, I said in a definite tone. Oh, really? Because the last time I checked, that was not the case. Her words portrayed her underlying anger, including her tone. How do you mean? I asked the forbidden question, and she blew up. You think I don't know your plan to get rid of my clan behind my back? You think I don't know you plan to discard me after using me to do God knows what? At this point, she was screaming at me. My mind returned to that day at the farm. Athaliah's strategy to drive her to anger was biting back at me. There is no such plan, Ysera, I said with a low tone. I do not appreciate your constant doubt in me. I gave you my word, and I do not plan to go back on it, and for as long as I am alive. I left my gaze on her, and she remained quiet. At that moment, I realized that she knew it. She trusted me enough not to believe the scrawny words of Athaliah. If she didn't, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be alive. She saved my life. I guess you already knew that, I said, and she confirmed it with a shrug. I needed to be sure I didn't make a wrong call. I rolled my eyes at her dramatic antics, then watched her walk away from me. Not so fast, I thought, and walked after her. About those dreams, I said, and got into step with her. Did it say anything about how we got in here, or perhaps how we can get out? My desperation leaked from my words. It was getting dark, and the last thing I wanted was to remain here without an idea of how we could make things work. In all my years of planning, I never imagined coming to this dreaded forest alone with the Chosen One, alone with Ysera. Nothing. Her reply was quick, and I knew she was lying or leaving something out. Where are you going? I asked when she increased her pace. You know nothing about the dark forest. You could get lost, I warned. I need some space to think. I suggest we split ways. I'll be fine. That got me angry. Don't be stupid. This forest is crawling with demons, beasts, and deadly creeping things you cannot imagine. We should stick together. Yet you are the one whining. She sauntered far from me. I'll be all right. I just need to get something before I leave. You can find your way out, but I'm not leaving. You can't survive without me out here. I gritted. Get off your high horse and let's figure out a way out. We can always return later. Staying here without a plan or map around is madness. And yet I saved your life, she fired back. Again, don't make me regret making that call. I am your alpha, Ysera. You cannot turn your back on me. It is not a negotiation. It's an order. We will return to the pack lands, then discuss whatever you need from this forest and return fully prepared. I barked, causing her to halt in her steps. I think you are forgetting something, Alpha. She turned around, and I saw her hair gain a brighter color. She was furious. We are not in the Packlands. It's the dark forest. You have nothing on me here. If you want to go, then find your way back yourself. The wind blew, and I watched her hair flare, giving her a regal look. At that moment, Ysera seemed different, powerful, confident, and my personal favorite, wildly beautiful. To my greatest surprise, I didn't feel angry. Neither did I feel upset at the utter disrespect. Instead, I felt Kier puff at her words like he was proud to have her defy him. And for the first time in a long while, I agreed. Zadok. Where is she? I wondered as I trudged through the dark forest alone. I heard the snap of a branch and turned to see a giant spider walking towards me with the intent to kill me. Not today, I thought, and immediately picked up a large, strong tree branch. Before it could get to me, I charged towards it and hit it severally till it reduced to tiny pieces on the floor. I threw the branch as I continued my search for Ysera. I can't believe she wandered off on her own. What exactly did she think going off to her death? I followed her trail eastward, carrying a decent tree branch, just in case anyone else tried something funny, hoping I got to her before danger did. Zadok. I heard a voice behind me, and I turned around with a swift movement. Nobody. There was nobody behind me. I continued my journey with vigilant eyes. I had heard stories about the deadliness of the dark forest, and how it reduced even the greatest to a delusional moron. I was determined to make a mess of that myth. The dark forest was home to a lot of creatures and beasts, some of which had the power to create hallucinations and draw their prey as they fit. My case was different. Thanks to the darned curse that brought me here, I was already a mess in the head, and there was nothing else they could do to top my current predicament. Zadok, I hear a voice whisper behind me, and it sounds oddly familiar. A breeze blew through me, and I felt a strong presence behind me. Alpha, I don't have much time, it said, and I turned around, branch in hand. Without as much as a look, I struck the person behind me, only to find air. I knew there was someone. I saw their shadow just behind me, and now nothing. Listen, a gray light appeared before me, and the face I saw took a breath out of my lungs. Shilhi. There she was in the gray light, looking like a hologram. She sported a frown I knew too well. You're not real, I muttered and shook my head. This is the dark forest. Nothing is as it seems. I rehearsed, closing my eyes. You are not real, I said, gathering the courage to face what I believed to be a fae. Yes, the voice admits, and my eyes fly open, shocked. This is a vision, a hallucination. Call it whatever you will, but I need you to listen carefully, she said, surprising me with her words. I remained silent, unsure what to make of the scene before me. You must not return without the ghost orchid, she said, and my eyes widened. Time is running out. You can't return without the flower, because the dark forest only allows you entry once in a lifetime. My eyes narrowed in concern. What are you talking about? If you leave the dark forest without the ghost orchid, you can forget about breaking the curse forever. The dark forest never allows a creature twice into its domain, including the chosen one. Once you leave the dark forest, it's over. You can never enter its grounds again. My brain worked overtime and decoded the implications of her words. Sudden anger brewed within me. And you are telling me this now? My apologies for the late information. I couldn't help it. I've been trying to reach you all these while, and after many unsuccessful attempts, I finally got to you, she said, seeming worried. I let out a deep breath, trying to stop the anger that ate at me. So what next? I asked. How do I get my hands on the ghost orchid without a map? I can't even find Ysera, I said in frustration. Shilhi's face turned grim. You can't afford to lose her. You must work with her, Alpha. Find her and get her to work with you. I will stay in contact with you as you proceed to help your quest, but you need to find Ysera, and fast. I will find her, I said with determination. My eyes searched my immediate surroundings. She couldn't have gone that far. Find her. You must protect her at all costs, Alpha. If she dies, your purpose is defeated. Her words struck a chord in me. My mate. If she dies out here, it would cost me my mate. My time is up, she announced, and her hologram started disappearing. I will reach you later. But first, you must wake up and find her. Her words rang endlessly in my head, and my eyes flew open. It was a dream. My body acts on reflex, and I search my surroundings for Ysera. I realized with terror that I was alone, lying by a tree. Shook to the core, I jumped on my feet and looked around. My heart raced as I remembered my last interaction with Ysera. We decided to spend the night together and go our separate ways at the crack of dawn. She fooled me and took off the moment I went to sleep. I couldn't even perceive her intoxicating scent. She left without a trail. If she dies, your purpose is defeated. The words of Shilhi return to me with a vengeance. Goosebumps wash over me as I hear her voice, speaking in an endless cycle and bringing a wave of fear. I couldn't lose Ysera. I couldn't lose her. You must wake up and find her. I heard Shilhi's words, and the dream gained a new meaning. It wasn't a mere dream. She said it herself. It was her way of communicating with me. Suddenly I remember the words of Ysera, the visions. They were real. My thought process cut off, and I felt a paralyzing fear that brought me to my knees. For some reason, I could tell that this fear wasn't mine. It belonged to someone. It felt so real, and my heart pricked at the level of fear that overwhelmed me. I look around my surroundings, and there's no threat whatsoever. A thought hit me, and instinctively I took off in a sprint, headed towards the east. Ysera was in danger. Ysera. I knew I shouldn't have gone. I knew it wasn't the right call. But I did it anyway. After our little fight yesterday, we decided to stick around for the night and go our separate ways at the crack of dawn. However, I got another vision, urging me to find my book and begin the journey to the heart of the forest. I didn't want to get into another fight with Zadok concerning my decision. While I trudged farther away from him, I contemplated telling him of my vision and getting him to work with me, but I remembered what a controlling arse he was and decided against it. I believed I was ready for this. I spent the last few months of my life getting strong for this journey. There was nothing I couldn't face. I hoped. Shaking off the fear that plagued me, I headed deeper into the forest. Dark shadows cast on my path as I walked forward, moving eastward. Just last night, Ysera visited me, telling me to find the ancient witch's book I lost during my transition here. According to her, I lost it on my way and must recover it before I begin my journey towards getting my powers and the ghost orchid. Before I deserted Zadok, I heard the dark forest mountains beckon to me, and I nearly abandoned my quest to find the ancient witch's book. As I treaded the deadly path of the dark forest, I sought the blue covers of the ancient witch's book to no avail. I retraced my steps back, but it seemed I was going in circles. By the third time, it dawned on me that I was lost. I had no sense of direction, and with the tall trees that reached the heavens, I couldn't tell the east from the west. An eerie wind passed, and I felt the presence of something. My body hairs stood, and I felt a coldness within me. I felt the eyes watching me, and that very closely. "Who are you?" I said slowly, reaching for the knife laced to my thighs. "Ysera. Long time no see." The voice whispered, leaving a cold trail on my body. Fear engulfed me, one that felt very familiar, too familiar. "You finally made it. Who would have thought you would come here, and for the same people that dealt with you?" His words trapped me, weaving through my mind and capturing it to his will. "You shouldn't be here," the voice said, and I felt pain in my heart, head, and everywhere else. It was the Sirion, a knowledgeable demon from the dark forest that captures one's soul and enslaves it to his will. One of the many things I knew about this beast was that it wasn't real. His powers hinged on hallucinations. The moment he took control of your mind, he could destroy you from the inside out. Another little detail about this particular beast was that it wasn't a stranger to me. How could I forget the day I was thrown out of my clan? "Leave me alone," I moaned, trying to keep my sanity. "You are not just here to save your clan," it chuckled. "Who would have thought there was a selfish bone in you that wants to experience power too?" It cooed, "It's pitiful that you would not achieve anything, not on my watch." I felt pain hit my heart, and a loud screech left my lips. "It's not real. It's not real. It's not real." I muttered to myself, and I didn't believe it. Suddenly, I became powerless and weak. Who deluded me to think I could do this on my own? So weak. The Sirion cackled. "Killing you will be doing you a favor. It will save you from the horrors ahead of your fruitless journey." I fell to my knees, paralyzed and wriggling in pain. I needed help. I couldn't fight. How could I fight when all he said was the truth? I was weak, powerless, and delusional. It was a joke coming here. It was a mistake walking off by myself. "I'll put you out of your misery, witch. I'll send you off to the worlds beyond. Maybe you will find your fulfillment on the other side." I feel my body lean into the pain, like I deserved it, like I was destined for the world beyond. "Stay awake," I hear a masculine voice shout at me. "Zadok, don't listen to it. Hang in there," he commanded. I felt my body come alive. He found me. He came back for me. "No, you don't," I hear the spooky voice of the Sirion. Immediately, I felt a chart of ice prick my heart with surgical precision. "Die! Ysera, it's not real. Open your eyes. Don't give in to it. Stay awake." Zadok spoke with desperation, like I meant the world to him. I couldn't leave him. I couldn't disappoint his trust in me. "You were rejected and tortured. I am doing you a favor. You must enter the world beyond." I heard the Sirion, but he wasn't as loud as before. I don't feel his hold anymore. I want to open my eyes. "Yes, that's it. Focus on my voice. You are doing well, mi amore. Open your eyes. It's not real. It's not real," I said and felt my body grow hot. "It's not real." I heard the screech of the Sirion, leaving in its signature way. "It's not real." I yelled, and my eyes opened. The first thing I saw were dark shadows. A form also loomed over me. I lay on the floor, breathing heavily as my sight cleared up. "It's okay. You are all right. It's gone now," Zadok said, searching my face. At that moment, I knew there was no way I was leaving without him.